We are back.
It's so much fun to be sitting here gearing up to film our latest podcast.
I know, these pink chairs have just been sitting empty.
Where have they been?
Well, actually,
They've
been sitting in the store and having lots of people sit and knit and wait for their yarn to get wound.
Yeah, and the other one's been just like covered in about a dozen whips in the office.
Yeah, it was hard to even tell it was a chair. It became a laundry chair.
That's it, it's a laundry chair. But you know you don't have laundry chairs in knitting stores, you have whip chairs.
Yeah.
Do any of you have whip chairs at home? Let us know in the comments.
Tell us about your whip chairs. I have a whip bin next to my bed.
Oh, that's old news. Everyone has a whip bin.
I didn't realize. In your
chairs
room?
And you, well, I guess.
Wherever you have
wherever you find it.
I'm Stephanie.
I'm Naomi.
Welcome to the Espace Tricot Podcast. Back after a long summer break and ready to rumble.
You can tell we're a little rusty because that intro is a bit all over the place. But let's go with it.
I liked it. But now you're back in the swing of things, back into the work mode. And back to podcasting.
Back to podcasting and back to dyeing.
Yes. Big
segue into the launch of our new yarn line, Bonny Tricot, which means, Steph, tell us what that means and tell us where the name comes from.
It means happy knitting, and it comes from what we wish all our customers as they're leaving the store. Or in our online orders too, if you've ordered from us online, you may have seen scribbled across the bottom of your order form, thank you for your order, beautiful choices, Bonny Tricot. And it really means happy knitting, and we use that as a jumping off point for the entire yarn line.
Yeah, just getting back to the basic question, like why
do we do this?
It makes us happy.
It makes us super happy, and we knew we were on the right track. We were talking about naming it, and I was talking about like the somatic element of knitting, like the thunk of the needles against each other, especially when you've got the right needle with the right yarn and it just flows. And I was getting all kind of emotional about it. And then I was like, what about you? And you talked about your grandmother and this connection back to your history and back to where you're from. And you were almost crying. And we're like, well, this is definitely what we should do.
Okay, we're onto something. This is making us feel something. We just dug really deep into it, away from the admin of the day-to-day running of the store, which also makes us happy and makes for an incredibly fulfilling job, as we've talked about, but often sort of gets a little bit distracted from why we even ended up here in the first place, which is just because, simple as this, we love
to knit.
Knitting. And we love color, and we love yarn and
texture and sheepiness and all of that good stuff. We are introducing, we did launch the yarn a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But this is sort of, in a way, it's official coming out party.
Absolutely. If you subscribe to our newsletter and if you are with us on Instagram, you'll have seen a lot about it, but this feels really like an exciting turning point in or exciting factor of the launch process, because we get to talk about it and show you it and just
in motion,
show how enthusiastic we are about it. And I hope that conveys something really special to you too, and that you'd like to try this yarn.
Yeah,
we're going to show you lots of things you can do with it, and there'll be lots more coming up. We're not going to let this one go.
We're on top of this one.
We have 3 bases that we'll introduce to you today. If I could knit with 3 yarns for the rest of my life, these could be the 3. I mean that genuinely. So let's get into them.
So I want to start with the Bonny DK. So each of the bases is named after a feeling of happiness. That's how we kind of came up with our base name. So Bonny is very much like a Scottish word that means good and wonderful, and which this yarn totally is. And this was really like my wish list of, like, I love knitting with DK, I love silk, I love merino, I even like alpaca, especially when blended. I just wanted luxe.
And it is just so incredibly soft.
So it's a single ply, which I also love. And these are a few of the colors. We have honey mustard, robin's egg blue, Concord grape, and pink garnet. And if you recognize some of these colorway names, some of them, it might be from our linen, our petit pochettes and our grand pochettes. We did look to those colors as a starting place, and then we sort of evolved it from there. And I'm wearing one of my own designs in the Bonny DK. This is the Cerignola Sweater. It's named for a kind of olive, because I think my little colorwork band looks like olives. And this is very much like a sort of transitional season sweater, a little crop, a little bracelet length sleeve.
It still is really cozy though. As a sweater yarn with the alpaca content and with the thicker weight of a DK, it'll take you all through the winter. It very much a really cozy layer through the winter, and I think it is unfortunately still disappointingly hot outside.
Yeah, it is. We have the aircon.
So this is probably like the very limit with the AC that you can wear.
Yeah.
But I'm just really looking forward to this yarn for really cozy, proper cuddle by the fire with a book all afternoon type sweaters.
Yes. Well, and definitely when I was designing this, I was looking to some designers I really like Boho Chic Fiber Company, who does these beautiful crops with sweet details, and it's all about wearing it over the dress.
Yes.
And so I'm wearing it over a long dress today, and I figure I'll be wearing it that way well into the winter. One of the things that I think is really interesting about this particular base is the alpaca, because it's adding guard hairs to it. So it has a bit of a halo to it, which I really like, because then you can strand it with mohair to punch that part up, but you don't have to. You still get that nice sort of halo to it. And then you have...
This is the Glee Shawl. Again, I went to a happy word. And this is just what this makes me feel. It kind of has like a playful circus, like good kind of clown vibe going with the pom-poms.
Yeah, it is. It's just got joy in it. Like, it's bouncy and
absolutely.
It feels fun. It's not taking itself too seriously.
And it's a very different fabric from the Serenola. We wanted to swatch all of these yarns and see how versatile they could be. This is a 16 stitch gauge in garter, and it's light. I mean, it has a heft to it from the pom-poms. If you are looking for a bit more lightness in your shawl, maybe don't add about half a pound of tightly wound wool to 3 corners of it. But I just love the way it changes the dimensions and the drape of the shawl itself by adding that little bit of weight. So it's really interesting when you wear it. So,
because I find it's like the pom-poms balance it and give it this sort of, it sits right with them.
Yeah, it really will just sort of stay put because you've got effectively these weights on it, and they're really fun.
It actually looks great with what you're wearing too.
Yeah, I mean,
you
can
know
you
your
tell
palette.
I have a palette? So I went back to the structure of the Manti shawl that I did in the Espace Tricot Crossroads collection a couple years ago, when quite a few of us released a collection of patterns together for some real classics that are great to revisit. I'll link them all in the comments below, because I realized going back to this one, wow, that was a real...
It was a banger.
Capsule of these sweet little patterns that are all now available individually. So yeah, I just love playing with asymmetric shawl shapes. I'm not a huge fan of the perfect triangle
shawl.
So I like ones that are wider than they are deep, basically, for shawls.
Yeah, me too.
So that's what's going on here. And this is the colors Sandcastle and Summer Peach, striped together in just 2 rows each of garter. And then I love the idea of just going for a real contrast pop on the corner there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What it strikes me is that if you were looking to make it to go with a winter coat, or you can keep it neutral here, and then you can add something here that's going to pick up the colors in your accessories or in your coat or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's 2 of the 3 patterns in the DK so far. There will be more,
including with mohair.
Yes,
I'm excited about that.
Well, and this next one is with mohair, and you've got all the little samples next to you.
We'll have a parade of styrofoam heads.
I can hold these 2.
We just couldn't stop making them.
They're so much fun. So this is called the Great 88 hat. It's named for the 88 stitches that you cast on. And this one originally came to us. Natalie showed up one day and she had made this with this incredible sequined yarn that she'd found. And we were like, oh my God, can we please have that as a pattern? And
we had given her a skein to play with the testers, right?
Yeah.
So it was, she brought it in the
robin's egg.
Robin's egg blue color of the Bonny DK. And I think
with the matching mohair.
Was it the matching mohair?
Oh yeah, because we gave her one of each.
Oh, that's right.
We know her. So she made this one, and then I was like, okay, please write it up for us. And then I immediately set to work on getting another sample knit. In fact, Natalie knit this one for us as well. This is the Oxford blue.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hannah knit this one for us, and this has 2 contrasts, and it has that same dark olive that's in Naomi's shawl with a lichen colored mohair.
Which you have beside you. We'll show you more about the mohair later as we go through, but I just want to show the two-tone difference there.
So super subtle.
And what it does.
Well, and then we used a gold thread of the sequin yarn, which is called Cosmos by King Cole, to really make this into this sort of old gold, royal gold feeling thing to it. But basically, we feel like you could do almost anything, but we do have kits for these 3 colors, I believe, right now, in stock, and we can always make more.
Yeah, check in. And really handy feature on our site that may be new since we last podcasted is the Notify Me button. So if anything looks out of stock, you can click on it, click on Notify Me, you'll get an email when it's back, and we see those. We see who's waiting for whatever. So if you click Notify Me on a kit, and we see it, we're like, ooh, let's make a kit for so-and-so. And that really helps us with our stocking decisions, especially when it comes to making kits.
Because we don't want to tie all the yarn up in kits if someone's trying to shop it individually. So if you click the Notify and I go, okay, somebody's waiting for a Robin Zed Blue grade 88 hat, and I have the stock, then I'm going to throw it together and you're going to get an email in your inbox. So yeah, those are our Bonny DK patterns. They're all free on Ravelry as always. And you can find them there, and you can find kits on the site. I didn't kit up the sweater because I didn't want to tie up all the yarn, basically. You know, I really want people to be able to make their own choices on colors. But the other 2 we do have kits for.
So next up, let's talk mohair, because of course we needed to have a mohair in the range. This is the Bliss Mohair. It is your absolute classic 72% mohair, 28% silk, perfect stranding mohair yarn. Use it in any pattern that calls for holding with mohair. That's what it is.
And it obviously matches with all of our bases in the DK and the foreplay that we're about to show you. But, you know, just to break things up a little bit, we ended up having a sample knit that doesn't strand it. It's held on its own. It's crazy. And I think it's next to you.
It's next to you.
Oh.
I hung it there so that it would be
Here.
visible. Here, should I take this?
You take these.
Ooh. That's so funny. I was randomly selecting skeins off the shelf, and of course I just pulled the
amazing.
3 blues.
So this is the rib lace Raglan. Is it rib lace, lace rib? Rib lace Raglan by James Watts. And Hannah knit this for us. Super fun. I think it's a skein and a half.
Yeah, and it's on its own. Not even held double.
Not even held double.
So it really makes the most of an impressive yardage in the skein too. And it's just, I don't think the original was made in mohair, but I'm sure not the only people to have had this idea. It makes this just beautiful sheer fabric that makes for a gorgeous layering piece.
In fact, I think I should try it on.
Change it?
Okay.
Change it up? Are we snapping?
Beep, 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 okay, we can snap. So there you go. Beautiful layering piece over a sleeveless dress. Sleeveless dress. Yes. I'll stand up so you guys can see a little bit better. This is a bit of a, it's probably not the size I would have chosen to knit, but I love it. I would wear it 100%. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a broadly sized pattern, and so you have a lot of leeway there in choosing whether you want it sort of close and cropped and really fitted. Hannah made this in the size that she'd wear for herself.
Size 5.
Yeah, but quite a few of us have tried just to see and admired it. Hannah's now making one for herself. I think Amalia's made one since in cotton. So
it's a great
really
pattern.
versatile piece, and you could just keep going on the sleeves. That's what Hannah's doing on her own one. She's keeping going on the sleeves.
And I mean, I think some people don't like to wear mohair in the summer. I get it. I love to knit with mohair in the summer because I love the transparency and that things can move through it.
Yeah.
But I think knitting oversized like this would be a really smart way to do it. If you're ever like, it's too hot here for me to wear mohair, wear it nice and breezy, and it doesn't have that sticky feeling. Yeah. Like I feel great in this right now. Yeah. And it's 27 degrees today?
Luckily not in here,
but
yes.
I might wear this for the next little bit. We'll see if I get the urge to change again. So there you go. That's a really nice sample showing you what you can do with the mohair even on its own.
And we've got lots more coming, holding it double, you know us. One of the projects I'm kind of excited about is holding this with the Happy 4-ply, which we'll show you next. And I have a few different ideas, and we've got a few sample ideas, so keep an eye out for what we decide to do with that.
Happy 4-ply?
Happy 4-ply.
Yes.
So when we were choosing our bases, it sort of went without saying, we love knitting with mohair. We knew we'd love to have a mohair. It really even though it was sort of the starting point, the first base we knew we really wanted, we knew it would be a complement to any other bases that we decide to take on in the future. And then from there, we were sort of like, well, the world's our oyster for other options. What do we want to go with? And you started looking into, you were thinking of like your ideal yarn to knit with, and started doing some research and found the Bonny DK.
Yes.
Through that, like slightly thicker than fingering weight, really luxurious, really soft. And if I think about what my dream yarns are, not just to knit with but also to dye, because I've been so far doing the dye work, I really loved discovering breed specific yarns, and especially British yarns, through my own dye project that I was doing before I took on the store with Steph. So I was looking around a few different mills in the UK, and John Arbon Textiles I've known about for a while. Many of you may recognise the name or have knit with their yarns. They do produce and dye their own yarns commercially, which are just beautiful, but they also provide bases for dyers and hand dyers. So we looked at their Exmoor sock, which is a blend of 60% Exmoor Blueface, 20% Corriedale, 10% Zwartbuls, and 10% nylon.
Wow, you A+. You
You
got that dead on. Yeah, you did.
And so the fascinating thing with this one, and why I think it's a really interesting addition to a very small range that we've launched with these 3 bases, is that it's a greyish base. It is not a pure cream or white. I guess no wool is pure white, but it is not a white base. So this provides an absolutely gorgeous dimension to the same colours that we dye across the other ranges. And with the nylon in it, it also becomes really good for socks, which we're looking at developing some sock patterns. Mona's got one on the way. Sasha of Verona Knits, Sasha Hire, is doing one for us as well. So that's exciting. And then I'm also, of course, knitting it in sweaters and shawls, because you can. It's a super versatile fingering weight yarn.
And it's got enough tooth to it that it could be great for color work, which
Yes.
that's like on my list, is I'm going to use it for color work. I'm really excited about it. I thought, just to illustrate your point about the gray base, just to hold up the same colorway on each yarn. So this is the Bonny DK. This is the Happy 4-ply. Oh, I didn't pull a mohair in this color.
That's okay. How about
Grab that.
How about these ones? This is color Brick, a really gorgeous red that we both love. So you can see a paler, almost sort of dark red coral color coming through on the DK, and then more of a true brickish red with the gray brown undertone of the.
But it's also, I mean, I think it's a testament to your skill that these are so clearly the same colorway, even with that different base underneath. You know, there's not this sort of sense of like, oh, those have nothing to do with each other. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I'll show you what I'm working on with it. Over the summer, this is a relevant tangent. Over the summer, I was playing around with knitting for Olive Pure Silk, which we haven't even had a chance to talk to you about, but was our absolute favorite yarn this summer, and I know many of you loved it too. We still have lots, and we're going to keep ordering it, I think, year round, because it really has this great appeal as a wool-free or wool alternative year-round yarn. Anyway, I made this little t-shirt playing with the stripe patterning from the Livresque cardigan that I released in Corrie Worsted last year. And that got me thinking, well, there's a good first project for the Happy 4-ply. So I took the undyed colour, the natural, gorgeous natural colour.
And we call this color Sweatshirt because it has that kind of vibe to it. That's a classic sweatshirt color.
And I paired it with a pretty exciting secondary product associated with this, the mini skeins that we've got in this base. Now, we won't be dyeing the mini skeins for regular collections. They'll be special
for kits,
exclusive things for options for kits, sock kits, this sweater. So I chose 3 colors for the contrasting stripes.
So this is Rosewood and Summer Peach and Dark Olive.
And so these are quite close to the Livresque colours, a little more muted, a little more reminiscent of the bindings of old books, which I really love. Those sort of deep leather colours that you get in old libraries. So I'm midway through it. Well, beyond midway is
No, you're very
one
close.
sleeve basically done. I'm working hard to get the pattern ready. So my vision for this is quite a close fitting, not too cropped. I'll probably recommend about 2 to 6 maximum inches positive ease.
Yeah, I think for the kind of fit you're talking about, even 2 to 4.
I think 2 to 4 is probably where we're going to be with that. What I realize with yokes like this, like any yoke, is that I do prefer them to be closer fitting, and it's a fit note that we get a lot and see a lot is this idea that sometimes yoke sweaters have this reputation of waving. The ripple effect. And if you think about it, it sort of makes sense why that happens. It's because there's too much fabric, and where does it go? It's not stretched, it needs to relax, it needs to rest, and it just naturally ripples. So if you have a large amount of positive ease, you have a large amount of extra fabric that ends up gathering in these ripples. Not to get too sidetracked on sweater fit talk.
The other thing that's interesting, and I'm going to take us off on a tangent about sweater fit too, which is that, the cool thing about top-down circular yokes is another way you can customize the fit, if it's something simple like this where it's just a stripe pattern or it's a plain knit, is you can decide how many stitches are for the sleeve and how much is for the body. Like if you get to the stitch count that's the largest stitch count, if you find, for example, that often things are too tight in the sleeve for you, you could decide, okay, I can lose 5 stitches off the bust or 6 stitches off the bust and add 3 more to the sleeves and just divide it differently. And that will also help combat some of that. And that some of that fabric that would be sitting here is now over here on your sleeve where you need it.
That all comes down to these differences that people feel between designers, that they really like so-and-so's yokes but not so-and-so's. Probably what you're talking about there is that so-and-so, designer A, has a template that they use or a math that they use that works well for the proportions of your body, not even bust size, just the physiognomy, the different proportions of our shoulders that we all have to our upper back and our arms and everywhere, regardless of just the one number that is our bust size. And designer B may have a completely different template that just doesn't work for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
our bodies are way different,
even the same
different.
size, right?
Yeah.
It's like just the proportions of shoulders. I mean,
Absolutely.
We're lucky in that we're in an environment where we're constantly able to discuss this with other people who also care about it and know about it and all have different body shapes, so we learn so much about it. But I know a lot of people don't necessarily have that access to other people who want to talk about the intricate details of a small versus a large shoulder.
Or even just, we have a library of samples going back 10 years that we can try on, and that visitors to our store can try on to see, like, oh, so-and-so's designs fit me really well, but this other person's don't. And when you find that yoke sweater that really fits you really well, go with that one, slap another colorwork chart on it. You can start playing
or look
with
for
this
more
stuff.
by that same designer, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's called Joie de Livre, right?
Yes. Yeah, the name for that. Did I even say? I'm terrible with telling you the names of these things that I'm knitting. Every time. I was playing with the idea of livresque, and then we're thinking about all the happiness and the naming of these yarns and this line. But I thought of a pun, and I tried it out on some French speakers, and apparently it does work in French as well. I called it Joie de Livre.
I love it. It's
Livre
fantastic.
meaning, Joie de Livre meaning literally happiness of
books. And playing off Joie de Vivre.
Joie de Vivre, which is like the lust for life, joy for life. Yeah.
I love it. Joy for book life. Do you want to grab Mona's sock, or do I have it?
I have it. So Mona is knitting us this adorable, cute little sock. Here it is.
But basically, it's still a work in progress, and it uses a really cool sort of decorative stitch that Mona calls a wheat stitch. She's got another color coming, I think.
No, those are the
colors?
contrasts,
Okay.
yes.
So this will continue to stripe on and turn into a beautiful sock. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Mona is an expert and famous sock designer and has designed...
She's a cover star.
Yeah, she was on the cover of 52 Weeks of Socks, and one of her designs, the embossed leaves sock that was an interweave knits, is probably like one of the most knit and favorited patterns on Ravelry.
We're very lucky and privileged to have her designing a sock for us.
Yes, we are. So we won't overspoil it because it's still in progress. And I have one in progress as well.
Oh, lovely. And a sock?
No, but another
I know you.
Bon Tricot work in progress. So this is the Bonny DK held together with the mohair in color meringue. Just make sure my TKB cords are secure before I... Okay, there we go. So my working title for this design is the Dovetail, because I'm sort of trying to pull some of the stylistic details of the turtle dove, the famous turtle dove sweater, and translate it into a yoke design, because that is a raglan. So you can see there's that nice big squishy turtleneck.
You've exaggerated it even further. You could roll it over if you wanted, or it could be like a cowl almost. So
trying to give a little bit of choice. You know me, I love a 1x1 twisted rib turtleneck.
And you did this is the design detail that, for any of you who choose to knit this sweater, we hope you do take the time to do this. It is purl through the back loop as well as knit through the back loop, and that means that when it's a completely reversible fabric, so you get that twisted effect when you fold it over. It is worth going to that extra little effort.
Yeah, if you have any thought to doing the flip, then it's worth doing, because then it really looks beautiful. So you can see it's pretty early days. I think I have one more set of increases to do, and before I get to sort of sleeve splitting. But it's just incredible to work with. I mean, it feels like
so
silky air.
It just creates this heavenly light fabric that'll just be so cozy. And I know that's more plain knitting than you usually go for, but I do hope you finish it soon so that we can get the pattern out for everyone.
Yeah, it should. I mean, the nice thing is that it's based on my usual yoke.
Yeah.
It's not taxing my brain too much.
Yeah.
It's just about finding the time to sit down and do some nice, easy breezy stockinette. I need a road trip.
Oh,
we have one more thing.
Well, one thing you've probably been glimpsing as we talk about it, through both us having a little refreshment, and also through the labels on the skeins.
Yeah. So when we were thinking about how we wanted to represent this brand, because we obviously went for a name, not just Espace Tricot. We wanted a little sub brand that was for this yarn. We came up with our name and our sort of theory of the brand and what it was all about. We started thinking about, well, what are we going to put on our labels? What is it? How are we going to represent them? And I started reading, like that start from zero thing, where I was like, I'm going to read a blog post about product design or label design, packaging design. And it was like, 10 things you didn't know. And one of them was, what if you use your packaging, your product as part of your packaging? And I was like, oh, how do you do that with yarn? And then I was like, well, what if this was their heads? And I went with it. I managed to convince Naomi to give it a shot. And we hired this incredible illustrator who's based in Kingston. Her name is Holly Gilmore. Her handle on Instagram, we'll link it, is Beautiful Pancake Love. She does lots of cool fan art, but also her own totally original stuff. And she created these 4 figures for us. And the idea is that if you keep the label kind of higher up on the skein, that the yarn becomes their hair growing out of their adorable heads.
What I like about these is, even if I have noticed with people that does take a little bit of explaining, but it's one of those, when you get it, it's like, oh, that's brilliant.
When you see it, you see it.
At the same time, I think they are so successful.
Even if
you don't know that, or even if nobody told you, or even if it's longer, like Marge Simpson. So sometimes in our labeling, sometimes we've tried to match the hair of the little critter with the yarn itself. Obviously, that's not always possible.
But it's really fun, and we try when we're doing kits or sending an order to try and pick a few different labels so you get to see more than one.
Collect them all kind of situation.
Yeah. So of course we're like, well, we can't just have these amazing things only on yarn. And we were like, okay, well, we need these 4 little bonhommes to also be...
What more can we do?
On mugs. So these are printed for us in Canada, in Ontario, and they're definitely kind of a special edition. I don't know if we'll always have them, but we wanted to have them for the launch. So you can find those on our website. You can pick your favorite. You can order 4. But what a nice thing to have while you're drinking your coffee,
sipping
drinking your tea,
knitting and crocheting.
And it's telling you to have some happy knitting.
And wishing the same to the world all around you. Or you can hold them this way around. And
oh, you've got lipstick on.
I have got lipstick. Well, the camera loves a lipstick, I've heard.
Yeah, you look great. Really
went with a strong lippy.
Yeah. So there you go. That is our Bon Tricot sort of yarn launch. We are so excited about it. We're excited to see what you guys make with it. We're excited to keep designing with it and continuing to grow it.
And we already have more designs and maybe another base
on the way.
In the works.
Yeah.
And on the way, so stay tuned. What's next, Steph?
Well, as we sit here in mid-September recording this podcast, obviously what's on my mind, your mind, everybody's mind, Rhinebeck!
Rhinebeck!
We're so excited to be going to Rhinebeck. The last time we went was 3 years ago.
Only time I've been, and it was with you. And that
Yeah.
was really where I think our friendship was really forged.
Cemented. It was an amazing trip, but obviously with everything that's been going on in the world, we have not been back. But we're very excited to be returning. We're taking Mona and Amalia with us.
So exciting road trip!
I know, it's great. And so we rented our spot, and we are so excited to go. But of course, the question always with Rhinebeck is, what are you going to wear? What are you going to knit? I mean, one of the things that, not just us, many people talk about is that it's frequently quite a bit warmer in upstate New York in October than maybe you're expecting. So, really heavy sweater or skirt is maybe going to leave you feeling a little warm.
Yeah.
But we've got a big trunk. We can just have,
pile it all in.
outfit changes throughout the day.
Speaking of skirt, I think I will make it to bring mine along. But I think I will pull it on over something else and not wear it all day.
So
I'm shortening mine a little bit. I'm leaving out a little. I'm leaving out about. There are two larger panels. I'm looking at it out the corner of my eye over there. There's a larger panel at the very bottom that I'm leaving out, and
so you're going from here.
I'm ending there basically.
Okay.
It's that. I'm ending here. I've also cut out a few increases. So this last section is a little bit different from this one, just because I don't have as many stitches.
But that's easy, right? Because you can just cut them off at the sides.
Honestly, this pattern is so much fun to modify and play with. And I think a lot of the projects that we're seeing in the Folly skirt is part of the knit-along that we've been doing all summer, just sort of chugging away in the background. A lot of them really are these glorious remakes of exactly that. But I think that as this pattern lives and gains steam, and as more people try it, I think we'll start to realize how personalizable it is.
Well, there's one whip or a faux, I guess an FO in the Folly skirt cowl where it is completely different, where she's got a very modern geometric thing that she's done. Instead of doing fair isle, it's much more almost intarsia looking, and it's big wedges. It's fabulous.
I think I have seen that one.
It's just completely different, but it's using the same math. It's just, as a designer, there's nothing that makes you happier than seeing someone take something and just run with it and do something completely unexpected.
If you want to take any of these charts and put it on your favorite hat pattern or mitten pattern, we'd love to see that.
Yeah.
And anything in progress will have separate prizes for people carrying it on in progress.
A hashtag, we'll link it, which is Folly skirt cowl and Folly skirt finished, where you can see some of these amazing projects. And one of the reasons I'm really hoping you finish is that we're planning to do a meetup on the hill at Rhinebeck for anyone who wants to wear their skirt and come take a group photo. So that's something we'll be hammering out exactly what time and making that aware.
If you do put it on any project at all, bring
that
along.
Not just a skirt.
If you have anything in progress, bring it along. We'd love to see anything that you started. If you have an inch done, we'd love to see.
Come and wave it in the air in the photo. So do you think that means I should start working on my ends? I really didn't want to weave the ends. Maybe that'll be my car project on the way down.
Weaving in the ends?
Yeah. The skirt kits, we didn't build any this time with the Corey worsted. We didn't put any in because it's an expensive kit. There's no joke about that, for sure. I do think it's totally worth it, and if you're looking for one, just let us know and we'll build one for you, no problem. And I know you recently put together some colors for someone to fill out.
Yeah. They wanted a little bit of a different palette. They had some of the original ones, and then they wanted to brighten it up a little bit and use more pinks and blues. And I think we came up with something really nice. Yeah,
so just, feel free to reach out and let us know if you're looking for custom palette, for a kit, or even just to fill out stuff you already have in your stash. We're happy to help.
Notify me and we'll see it.
Yeah.
We received our gorgeous big autumnal restock of Corey worsted. So if you're interested in making this, or any patterns from the worsted book that Amy came up with last year that's absolutely beautiful, the Livresse cardigan, or this other random little project I started without much intention of ever finishing it, the Ariana cardigan.
One day it's going to be great.
One day it will be great. I am loving it, but I've got to make something like 50 of these adorable little squares.
So you need a road trip too.
Yeah, well, it looks like I'm getting one. Anyway, enough about that.
My Rhinebeck sweater.
Your Rhinebeck sweater?
Guys, I finally come up with a project that requires 2 project bags.
Finally, don't most of them?
Well, I mean, they're 2 separate, completely separate yarns, completely different sections of my whip.
So you're aiming for Rhinebeck with this sweater?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Let me begin. So, the base of my sweater, and of course I'm designing it, you know, have to, is knit in Serenola by Rerum Natura. This is the Cell colorway, so just a very plain white, going for that very Aran sweater vibe. So this is going to be the back, but you can see I've got this sort of big open sort of lozenge shape here that has the reverse stockinette. And then there's also this section here, which I knit, and then now I'm thinking I might have to fill this up too. So the idea is that I'm going to fill these reverse stockinette sections with ferrule. So allow me to open my other project bag. So this is what I'm working on with Shetland Drift by Jameson. And I know it looks a little bit like a very strangely shaped sock right now, but in fact, this has 3 steeks in it at the moment. Wow. It will continue to have 3 steeks.
You amaze
So
me.
there's a steek on each side, and there's a steek through the middle here, because this side is going to be the piece that gets sewn into this lozenge here. And then...
Do you want me to hold it in?
So the front of this will be a cardigan. And so if you can imagine sort of something like this.
With half of...
So this part will be a half lozenge using, like half of this thing.
Wow.
Will go in here, and then you'll have a button band.
Wow.
And I'm also going to do something up the sleeves with this as well. So it really is, I was trying to think about it. I was out walking the new puppy this weekend thinking like, well, how much work is this really? And I would say it's like knitting a cabled sweater and then maybe knitting a ferrule cowl. And I will definitely film a video when I go to cut it. I haven't decided how I'm going to treat my steeks yet, whether I'm going to reinforce them or whether I might just go for it. This is such good yarn for steeking. It so wants to stick to itself that in fact one of the things I'm doing is I'm actually cutting every color every time I change, because otherwise they stick together so much on such a small circumference that it becomes a crazy tangle. Yeah. So I'm like tucking my ends away inside and getting them out of the way.
And honestly, sewing it to the work will reinforce it. That could serve as the reinforcement.
Exactly. So it'll be really fun. I will definitely document it because I know steeks can be terrifying the first couple times you do them. I felt the same way. But like I sent some pictures to Naomi this weekend, and it was just like I was chopping everywhere to get my swatch right, to get my math right.
Yeah, because like you were telling me, the gauge has to be
dead on
to get these to fit into each other.
Yeah, if anything, a little tight on this will be easier to deal with than a little bit loose, because if it gets bigger than the space it's going into, it's gonna ripple, more ripple effect. We should call this podcast the ripple effect. So yeah, that's what I'm working on, and I'm just so obsessed with it and so excited. I'm about at the halfway point of this.
It's beautiful. I love this chart. I love the colors you've used, and I love seeing you so excited about this, because it's been a second since you've been really excited about the design.
I think what I've really have to come to terms, and I think like at least once every 3 months I say, I gotta come to terms with this about myself. I really like to push myself. I really like to try something I haven't tried before, to like, even if it's tedious, I just so enjoy the process of trying to work something out. I think what often happens is something doesn't work out and I get bummed and scared. And then I step back and I go towards something simpler, or I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be trying to design such crazy things, because I've had a couple of things that just didn't work out. But in that moment that something hasn't worked out, and you're just like, why do I do this to myself? Sometimes. So I'm so excited. I'm knitting this. I cast this on last week, Thursday?
Like Thursday, or I think it was Thursday.
And today is Monday.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about making Rhinebeck.
And she came in Friday with the panel done, with the cable panel done.
Yeah. So I'm not worried about making it to Rhinebeck with the sweater. I'm worried it'll be too hot.
It was definitely Thursday, because I also got an impulse cast on idea in my head and started a Baccarat sweater.
Oh, it's so good.
And I'm loving it so much. And so this is my I hope it's cold at Rhinebeck sweater. I don't know if this will see the light of a day. I think if it's more than about 16 degrees, I'll be suffering in this one. But we'll see. This is the original yarn choice that Steph did when she rejigged the pattern into the Baccarat Bank sweater with the Camo Rose Llama Tweed.
That's right.
And I just shook up the palette a little bit and chose a darker main color. So I'll include my color choices down below. I don't have a Ravelry project page for it yet, but we do have colorwork kits, and I went off-piste a little bit compared to those, so I'll put my color choices down below.
I have a feeling we're going to want to kit this color choice.
I think we could. I think
great.
it looks good with a dark color, because that helps sort of hold the ground, the pastels down. But I'm also thinking that Bonny DK and Courion would be a gorgeous combination. Cool. I kind of want to get someone on knitting a sample for that if we need like a fourth for the store.
I'm in. I've knit this sweater, I think, 3 times.
One of them is in the store in the Llama Tweed. I want to keep this for myself. So maybe we need another one. Maybe we need another one for the store.
I'm in. You know, I'm in. I love it.
But I will have to think of, maybe I'll just have to go shopping on our shelves for some lighter weight Rhinebeck sweaters, because I don't know how much I'll get done in 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's something that I'm going to be asking myself.
We've got about 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
Is I'm going to go through my summer knits, I guess, or my
lighter weight.
Yeah,
knits.
and look at some things that I could bring and feel good about wearing around the festival.
Yeah.
I was sort of feeling this, like, I was unpacking my fall stuff and, making sure it's all clean and doesn't need repairs, and just having this sort of like, I think it's because of the yarn store. I've been wearing my knits so much that I'm having that sort of like, I need something new. I need something fresh. Like, it doesn't feel like that long since I was wearing this. I just, like, if I was still, my old pre-knitting self, I'd be like, I feel like going shopping.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just feel like my wardrobe needs a refresh.
I've been feeling that too, and I may shop around here. But honestly, like, sometimes I just think, I feel like sometimes I want a sweater quickly and I cast something on and it's not right, and I haven't thought about the decision properly, and really what I should have done is just put the effort into, I've talked about this before, a slower project with more detail in it that I'm more satisfied at the end, and then just maybe buy 1 or 2 really good quality natural fiber sweaters.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a store-bought sweater if it fulfills your needs.
That's it.
I mean, my whole thing is I don't want to knit gray sweaters. I will buy a gray sweater and then I will knit crazy colors.
Whereas I'm like, I need a very simple top-down raglan. I'll cast one on, and then I have about 4 that are at the sleeve split and never get done.
That's what's in the bin next to me.
That's what's on the whip chair.
The whip chair. That's right. Well, so if you have the skirt and you have the Baccarat sweater,
neither of which will be
the right temperature,
particularly practical if it's warm.
Well, you could bring this. This is really beautiful.
I could bring this, and I'm going to bring my Hello from My Colors crop.
Yeah, that's another really nice choice.
Which is also super cute with like we were talking about the style of a sweater layered over skirts and like boots and socks and bare legs type.
Well, I have my boots. I definitely want to bring the boots, my cowboy boots. So I need to think about what would go with that.
Basically, I just need to pull together a few like Hobbit approved outfits. That's very much my style right now.
What was it you said that
the Gentle Knitter posted on Instagram that they're making the Paul Clay sweater by Midori
Heroes,
and the color palette is absolutely gorgeous, and it was captioned I call this Coastal Hobbit.
Coastal Hobbit.
And I'm like, we're about as far from the coast as you can get almost in Montreal, but I feel that.
You're feeling the Coastal Hobbit?
I'm feeling the Coastal Hobbit. I was feeling Coastal Grandma, but I feel like Coastal Grandma retires when, like, Ina Garten goes home from the Hamptons. Yeah. Coastal Grandma is a summer vibe.
I saw something on Twitter, too, where, like, Taylor Swift showed up to an award ceremony, like, all in glitter. I was like, her Coastal Grandma era is over! They were really happy about it. I was like, I kind of liked it.
I feel like moving into autumn, I'm in that, that tweet that's like, am I a boss bitch or am I a moss witch?
Is it that back to school vibe, too? Is it dark academia?
So.
I need, like, elbow patches on my jacket.
Definitely. I always get very dark academia around this time.
Notice that I have this amazing bag.
Really? I have one too.
I love your bag.
I love your bag.
Mine says Steph on it.
Mine says Naomi.
Oh, it's so cool. These bags are the result of quite a bit of like back and forth and work with Hide and Hammer. And these are to celebrate 1 year in business together. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bon
Tricot.
tricot.
Bon tricot.
So it's not actually quite a year yet, but it will be in about
Oh,
2
sure.
weeks. So this was our custom fabric that we got done with Hide and Hammer. And I remember when we were coming up with it, is we actually went around the store and picked out some of our favorite colors for some of our favorite yarns. You know, knitting for olive, Cama, rose.
We've always loved the different tones of pink in the logo. I think they do play really nicely together, but we wanted to add a little bit of contrast and edge to it. And we were just batting ideas around. We're not illustrators. Hide and Hammer have done some gorgeous collaborative bags for other companies, but we were sort of thinking more along the lines of traditional fabric patterns versus like a figurative motif style fabric. So we designed this plaid and got it custom printed, or Hide and Hammer got it custom printed onto this beautiful waxed but not overly so canvas.
Yeah, it's quite soft,
Yeah.
but it's nice. It retains its shape really well and is somewhat water resistant, but I'm sure if you plunged it into the sea it would get wet.
Yeah, and well, I mean, you can spot clean it and wash it, I believe Hide and Hammer says, because all of the leather accents are removable. So if you ever need to give it a bath, you can do so. And it really just has that incredible attention to detail and just design elements that we love from Hide and Hammer.
There's pockets for your needles, there's pockets for your notions.
It fits so much too. I've got about 700 grams of yarn in here, plus all of this sweater.
They're fantastic, and it really is kind of a one-of-a-kind item. Like we ordered them to celebrate this 1 year, and when they're gone, they're gone.
That's it.
And some people have snapped them up already, but definitely if this interests you, you'll want to get on it because they will go.
And I mean, everything down to this pink leather that New and the team suggested, which we absolutely love. And then we've got our logo stamped on the straps, and a cute little surprise when these bags turned up, because we've restocked on the other colorways too if you're looking for some of the other styles, including the number 8 smaller one, but they all came with the logo stamped on them, which we weren't even expecting, which we love. And then they have the Hide and Hammer logo on the other side of this really useful
sort of arm
go
strap,
anywhere carrying strap. So
even if you don't go for the custom print, if you order from the new stock, you'll get a little Espace Tricot logo on your bag.
Super adorable. It's minimal. It's not in your face. It's just a little sort of like
memory of where you got it from.
Yeah.
So we love them, and I think what's so cool about this is that, you know, as any of you watching have figured out, like we have different aesthetics, but this suits both of us. Like this is so me, and it's so you. Yeah. We love them.
We love them. But we need other bags in our lives as well.
Yes.
So we've been on a bag kick lately.
I can't reach those. Oh, yeah. So always we have our Magna bags, which we've talked about before, which are great. This is what I have the color work section of my epic colors and cables, and I call it. So these are really large and have a really large opening. They're great for big projects. Yeah. But in terms of like just fun design, I love these so much.
These are so much fun. We've had these before, and again, a fun little surprise when we received these. The zip color is different this time. So these come from Amsterdam, where Love It Design. They're screen printed entirely from scratch, these unique designs, and handmade. And the last batch we had orange zips, and these ones have pink zips. So it's sort of like a bit of a collector limited edition vibe. And a couple of the prints are new to us as well this season.
Cause this one for sure.
You know, you always want something fresh.
And so there's the Zip It, which obviously is the zipped one.
Really sturdy zipper. It's also like a nice, like good quality but plastic one, so that if your yarn does get caught in it, it's not like metal where it'll get stuck and might snap. So that's a really thoughtful aspect that I appreciated.
There's also a pull-it version of them for a drawstring if that's your preference.
Yeah, but I would not hesitate to put yarn in this because I know it's not going to really snag that on this zip.
And the zip does add something with the color, right? Like it's really fabulous.
Yeah, the black, and we have a black print.
Should I go get some more?
Sure.
Okay.
Black and pink. I really like this. It's just this fun fluorescent, like that fluoro morganite colorway from La Bien-Aimée. That's what it reminds me of.
Totally.
It is a hot pink, but it's not like that classic fluorescent pink,
Yeah,
highlighter
there's
pink.
something more to it.
There's more going on that I like with black. Sometimes I don't like black and pink, but I like these two.
I also really like the detail of the orange here.
Yeah,
with
that's
that, like
new.
it's all pulling it together.
Yeah.
And then speaking of the orange, this is one of my favorite prints. This is the orange hearts. I just love the intensity of it. Is Marimekko what I'm thinking of a little bit? Like
Probably,
that kind
yes.
of intense, repetitive
Yeah.
block print style with
Yeah.
really bright color. We love the whole aesthetic. They're such eye-catching pieces. And I do think with project bags, often like if they're going to be long-term storage, you want them to work with your decor, which is one of the reasons we try to have lots of different vibe, lots of different feel.
You want to see them out on your couch and be like, ooh,
yeah,
you know, and
that clashes.
get excited to get back to your knitting, you know, how much they become part of the process of making and the joy of coming to your craft, making not only like from a practical sense, making sure that all of your yarns are together and you can keep the right needles together for your project and keep everything safe and tidy, but also just like
ooh, there's my
you've got a
stuff.
little parcel, a little present to open every time you come back to your project. And well-made project bags, you can tell the difference. Like the pattern matching along the sides of these is incredible. Like you can really feel the quality in the fabrics. Same with the hide and hammer. Like I'm really impressed by the pattern matching.
Yeah.
Little details like that really make the difference.
Yeah, like I would have this out in my living room and it would fit right in. Like again, it really depends on your style, but this would work in my place and almost look like like a throw cushion or something.
Totally. This shape. Imagine like if I get out of this chair and I just have my project bag on the chair. It's a little. You're right,
who can complain?
And then it's full of yarn. It's really comfy.
So we do have a few other new things, but I think we can kind of do like
let's just show a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Let's show a few new store samples that we've had around for a little while.
Well, this one's actually pretty fresh. So you probably remember when I cast this on. I definitely featured it in a previous podcast. It's the Gigi Cardigan by Knitatude, which is fun to say. And this is in Normal Madara, so it's a silk blend. So that's kind of what's giving a little bit of the nubblies in here.
Little tweedy vibes.
So the original pattern does not call for more than one color. It's just one color, but I thought it'd be fun to add intarsia to this so I could use both the colors that spoke to me in this Madara, which is this intense red, which is called, oh no, let's make sure we note that down below. This one's definitely called Sakura, which means cherry blossom. So I used the red all along the collar in intarsia, and then came down and added it at my cuffs as well. And the buttons I chose are actually vintage. Found them at Rhinebeck those years ago when we went. So I finally found. So I don't know if they're the perfect color match, but I kind of don't care because they're
You're already using these two bright tones of the pink and the red, so getting the orange in there works.
Yeah.
And honestly, like this pulls together at the end in this way far better than I was expecting it when I saw the really bright schemes next to each other.
But it was a bit of a slog only because of the stockinette. Like, I love the color, but I don't like. It's like once the challenge was incorporating the intarsia, which was fun and different, and then eventually I was like, okay, nailed it.
Yeah.
Oh, I still have like 12 inches to knit. But I really am glad that I finally got it done because I think I'll wear it a lot, and especially like open more as a jacket, which is more my style really than a cardigan.
That's the style with the shawl cardigans, shawl collar cardigans.
Yeah, it's like
kind of usually one open.
Loose and drapey, kind of almost like a deconstructed blazer feel to it.
And you're a lot happier with this after you blocked it, aren't you?
Oh yeah. So when it was blocking, before I blocked it, the collar wasn't sitting properly, which I think is common with shawl collars. Is they need to loosen up to be able to fold over properly. And then when it was the mistake I made is I picked it up when it hadn't fully dried and tried it on.
Okay.
And I was like, oh no, it's gotten way too floppy. Then, of course, once it was 100% dry and I put it on, I was like, oh, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it goes to show if you're unsatisfied with how a project feels right towards the end, just give it a block and trust the
and let it dry.
process there and let it dry.
Yeah. So that's my latest, I think this is, besides the Serenola, this is my FO of the moment. Nice. What have you got?
Well, this one I actually finished a little while ago, but I want to show it because I know that we do have some viewers outside of the Northern Hemisphere. So if you're moving towards spring, try this one. This is the Cookie Cardigan, which I posted a few times on Instagram because I really loved knitting it. This is by Emma Duché, who is Encre Violette on Instagram, and I posted about her quite a bit through knitting my Trove sweater.
Yes, that's
in
right.
the Federbrook and Julisse that I really love and will probably come with me to Rhinebeck. It's a little lighter weight than the Lana Tweed.
Yeah, that's a good choice, actually.
When I finished it later enough in the winter that I didn't feel like I got to wear it enough.
Yeah.
I really loved it, and that led me to more of Emma Duche's designs. She's a designer that I really love to keep an eye out on. She's the pattern in the most recent Pom Pom magazine that stood out to me the most was one of hers. And this stitch pattern just uses knits and purls and very simple lace to create fan shell patterning. And so I knit this in the Sweet Georgia Flax and Silk Fine, which has been one of our favorite summer yarns, which is a wool and linen blend. Silk and linen. So another wool-free yarn, fingering weight with beautiful drape that I think, even if we don't restock it as often through the winter, it is a really successful year-round yarn for shawl knitting, for lighter garments if you get hot easily, if you just want a little light layer through the summer against the air conditioning, something that's really not going to keep you too hot but still has a really cozy feel and a lovely drape.
Oh, and the buttons.
Yes, the buttons. This is also why I wanted to show you this cardigan now, because these are the Pigeon Wishes buttons, which are new again since our last podcast. And again, I don't know how close I can get successfully with the camera, but I will put in an image to show you some close-ups, because these really need to be seen close up to be appreciated.
Yeah, so they're beautiful buttons that we bring in from the UK.
Yeah.
And we have a range of colors. They all have this kind of subtle fleck to them.
They're a polymer, I think, like a polymer resin.
Yeah, the resin.
Yeah. So they have that almost like terrazzo tile vibe that we're seeing. I'm increasingly seeing with like the 90s hairstyles revivals.
Oh, is it like the
claw
clips?
And stuff. So it's that same sort of material that you might have seen around a lot in claw clips and hair clips, and it's really successful for buttons. They're light resistant, UV resistant, they wash well, they don't chip, and they can really just add a fun, lively little touch.
Okay, so we have a couple of new yarns to show. Literally just came in this weekend.
Yeah, we opened the door to boxes and boxes of this morning, and it's beautiful.
So here, I'll give you a couple to hold. So this is called Puma.
Puma.
And how I'm remembering that is, it's like Florence Pugh. Florence Puma. That's how you say her name. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that.
I didn't. I was like, how on earth do you pronounce this? And then someone's like, it's like pew, like pew, pew, pew. And now I'm like, Puma. So actually, Puma means feather.
Okay.
So it kind of goes a long way towards describing this yarn. So this is a single ply, bulky yarn, 100% merino, an Italian yarn. So it's very, very light. Mm-hmm. So even though it works up at a heavier gauge, it has that really light feeling to it. It's like, it's super soft.
Really soft.
And this is kind of...
Emily is right. I want to spin it.
You want to spin it? Oh, cool. Well, this, yeah, I could maybe
it drafts nicely.
So you're going to turn this into a fingering.
I'm just here like pulling it apart. No, not really. I won't pull your yarn apart. You can buy it and not spin it.
But so this is part of our efforts to bulk up our bulky yarn section.
That was a better joke than the Florence Pugh.
Really? Oh, okay, I'll take it back to the drawing board. Before I do my tight 5-minute set, I will work on it.
You need to workshop that one a little bit.
So what's cool about this is we got 34 colors.
What?
Yeah, so we got the full palette of all these beautiful, solid colors. So
that's better range than Florence Pugh.
Whoa! Burn. I thought she was supposed to be so good. I don't know. We'll talk about this offline. Maybe we go see the movie.
Maybe I was sacrificing my opinion to land the joke. I think that anyone who can do Midsummer and Little Women, like that's some pretty good range. They've got some range.
Okay, sorry, Flo.
Have they got as good a range as 34 colors of single ply bulky merino?
That's now the joke lands. I love it. So yeah, we're really excited about this, but obviously it's like it just came in the door. We haven't knit with it yet. It was one of those things where we saw a ball of it and we're like, yes, 100%, we want that.
Yes.
So we'll get going on some samples for it, but it's especially wonderful for winter accessories.
I realized you picked the two colors that are like that cardigan, and then
these are your
two.
Yeah,
like a color block blanket.
Yeah, cowl.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, you know, I want to knit sweaters with it.
Definitely.
You want to spin it. You know, we are who we are.
I think it would be so good for accessories. Realistically, it is one of those single plies that you want to choose a pattern and use it in a way that will reduce its likelihood of pilling. We're going to be real. This type of single ply, bulkier merino yarn with those shorter staple lengths, they will pill with friction against them. But you can get around that in several ways.
What? Knit them tight?
Knit it tighter gauge, strand with mohair, and knit in projects that will not get as much friction going on them. So sweaters, you get friction on the underarms and at the cuffs. That's where pilling happens because that's often against surfaces or against itself as we're walking. Hats, perfect. Cowl, scarves, as long as your coats don't have too much Velcro, you got to watch that. Not because of pilling, just because
it will pull.
Velcro loves clinging on to any kind of yarn, but especially this kind of thing. So it's one of these things where there are so many successful projects you could make by choosing the right thing.
Yeah, just choosing the right thing, being cautious.
Yeah.
But we're excited to try this with mohair.
Absolutely.
Because that's kind of one of the secret. I mean, obviously, stranding with mohair adds expense, for sure.
Yeah.
But it also adds longevity.
Yeah.
Because it means that, for one thing, it protects against pilling because it's on that silk base. But also, it disguises pilling. Because the mohair gives the fuzz. So when you do start to see pilling, it kind of blends in and becomes part of the overall texture.
And this is 131 yards in 100 grams. So actually, about 2.5 of these will fit to one skein of mohair.
Yeah.
So that's
not bad.
It's bulky. You get a big surface area. So actually, like stranding with this,
you can do a sweater.
You can go pretty far. And they recommend 10 stitches in 4 inches, which is super cozy. Yeah. Lots of patterns we've seen on Ravelry and
in that
customers
range.
Bring us in the winter in that range. A lot, but this is where I would be wary of those super bulky, like 8 to 10 stitch sweaters that we see from Wool and the Gang, from who's that one that does the Strathcona sweater? When I remember the Goodnight Day. Yeah, those beautiful big bulky sweaters. Even though the label says the stitch will fit, that's on the looser end, and that's where we'd expect to see some pilling quickly.
And often those yarns that you're seeing, those knitted originally, do have some kind of acrylic in them as well. Yeah. So it's making sure that it's not just the label, like you say, on the gauge. It's thinking about that material and about how it's spun. Yeah. So I would definitely knit this tighter than 10 stitches. Yeah. I'd be looking more like 15, 14.
Well, that's the fun of it. We get to swatch it soon.
I know. It'd be super fun. Another sort of heavier weight yarn that we've added is the Plymouth Homestead Hearty. I just want to say that like a pirate. I'm sorry. It's all just comes in natural colors.
Well, there are a lot of pirates set sail from Plymouth, probably.
Or landed there, or both. So yeah, this is it's just available in natural colors like this one. So there's sort of a darker brown, a gray, sort of a classic fisherman sort of sweater, white. And we literally just got it. It hasn't even been added to the web store as of this moment, but it will be obviously by the time we publish. And it's fabulous. We love
woolly,
Plymouth.
But not itchy. It doesn't have much of a halo to it. I don't think this would be itchy next to the skin at all.
We really like the Plymouth yarns. We brought them in last year. Yeah. And this is us expanding that range because we just find they knit up beautifully. They seem to last well. The price is right. The quality's good. They just hit all those spots. And we know they're coming from an American company. And that's nice to know as well, like where the yarn is coming from.
Yeah,
and
grown in Peru, Peruvian Highland wool.
Yeah, I love this for scarves, hats, especially if you're a newer knitter who is maybe ready to leave behind the acrylic that you're getting at the big hobby shops, but you're not ready yet to be like, yes, give me your finest and most expensive yarn. This is a really nice place to be because you're going to get the quality. It's going to be easy to knit with. And that's the biggest thing when you come over from those yarns for the first time is you realize actually wool is much easier to knit with than synthetic fibers. So I think that's going to be really fun to introduce some of our new knitters and ambitious beginners to this yarn.
And if anyone is asking you, they want to, the cold weather sets in, you have friends, a little family asking you, teach me how to knit. This is a really good one to send them to.
Yeah. And also the homestead, that's the regular homestead, which is more of a worsted, also a great choice.
Yeah, worsted to iron that we did the
upstate scarf.
And I should take that one to Rhinebeck, I guess, since we're going upstate.
That would be great. Well, and also the new tailor drops not long after. And I already was like, it's called Midnights. We should have a collection called Midnights. But who has time for that?
We could do like one.
What? And then there's one last heavyweight yarn in the mix. Do you want to pass me that hat?
Yes. I love this one.
So this is one of the most popular yarns in the universe, apparently. I mean, when you go on to Ravelry and look at the most stashed, most projects, Malabrigo Rasta is one of the top 10 yarns. Even it's hand dyed, it's incredibly beautiful, merino wool.
And Malabrigo's just been in the game for so long. I remember when I first went to sort of verging on indie yarn store, local yarn store vibe shop, I got a skein of Malabrigo worsted in Archangel. No, that's Archangel in Indicita. That was the first fancy.
I didn't pull.
That was the first fancy hand dyed yarn that I ever saw, touched, knit with.
Yeah,
and I think it's the same for many people who started within about the last 15 years.
Yeah, it's just they are so good at what they do, and they are still out there doing it, and we're really happy to have some on our shelves. Archangel is my colorway. I have in my stash some skeins of all the different bases of Malabrigo on Archangel, which I will never knit with because they are so precious that like the idea of taking them out of the skein and doing something with them is like, I can't, like I have to just, I'm basically like, who's the guy in the Lord of the Rings with the ring? Gollum?
I mean, they all want the ring.
I'm like them, but with Malabrigo Archangel. So, of course, I was like, well, let's do a sample in the Archangel. Since I can't bring myself to knit it, I should ask someone else to. So this
matches your sweater.
Well, you know my colors palette. This is the Sierra Beanie. I'm sorry, I cannot remember the designer's name, but we will, of course, link it.
That's what subtitles are for.
Yes. So Hannah knit this for us, and we added this delicious alpaca pom-pom. We'll show you this in 1 second.
Gorgeous.
But what I really like about this is Hannah felt it was a little tight and small, but actually for my tiny head, this is perfect. I love this because knit a little densely like this, it's actually going to really keep your ears warm versus blowing right through.
Yeah, this is for the depths of winter where you've almost abandoned cute slouch territory. And
but this is also one skein.
The warmth. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and it's about an evening's work. Hannah came back with it the next day.
Yeah. So another reason we wanted to have this yarn on the shelves is that's exactly it. Like people come in like, I want to make a quick knit, I'm making a gift, I want to do something, but they want something impressive, something that's going to have that I made this for you vibe. This is the yarn for that. Absolutely.
And realistically, it's hard to find hand-dyed yarns this chunky, and that's why I love that Malabrigo is still doing this, and I think why Rasta in particular is such a popular yarn because this skein costs the same as another hand-dyed skein because it's the same amount of work and it's 100 grams.
Yep.
But when you do that on sock yarn, you get 400 meters. When you do that with Malabrigo, you get
90 meters. 90 meters.
So what do you do with that? Making a sweater is a big endeavor, and I don't even know, that would be like borderline too hot for a sweater.
I think so, yeah.
But it's just perfect for
hats,
little fingerless
mittens,
mitts, hats, a little
cowl.
Sort of neck warmer type cowl, like almost like a sweater collar without the rest of the sweater on it. All of these small projects that are so perfect for gifting, and this is reliably soft to anybody you're going to give this to.
Yeah, it's a merino top basically.
Please tell them it is not machine washable, as we know with most hand dyed yarns. Best
but especially
hand washed, but especially something like this,
merino.
It will shrink
and felt
easily if it goes through machine wash.
And so while we're on the topic of the pom-poms, these are the colored version of the topped pom-poms. So these are
this one here, so that there's no gap.
You can. Do you want to redo it?
Nope, that's good. But I dropped one.
Oh, I like this one. Okay, well, we'll figure that out later.
I'll just show this one.
So these are 100% alpaca, and they are from, I guess they're from creatures that are otherwise not going to go on. That's the deal, right?
Toft, which is a UK-based company, they have agreements and relationships with alpaca farmers in South America, and when the alpacas die natural deaths, that actually is a big hit to farmers. They've lost an animal that is a sustainable resource and produces a fleece every year. That animal no longer exists. That's a loss of income and a hit to livelihood. So, and it's also potentially waste of a resource. So these come from the fleeces of alpaca who die naturally. It's basically as close to cruelty-free as animal-derived pom-pom can get.
So the colored ones have these snaps. So you sew on the back half of it to the top of your hat.
So that
it's-
part onto the top of the hat.
And then it clips on.
Clips on like that.
So that means you can remove it for washing, which is lovely, or you can switch out your colors, which is fun. But I think a lot of people don't realize it's to sew on. We've all...
It was a real brainwave when I realized that.
Yeah, the instinct is to put this part inside the hat and then try to clip it on through a little hole in the top of your hat.
That can
Doesn't
work, but it doesn't really work very well, and it definitely doesn't work on a thick yarn like the raster. So you got to sew that little button onto the top of the hat.
And then they do also have sort of natural colored ones as well, but these don't have the snap. So these you need to sew on or add a button or whatever you need to do. But these are the natural alpaca colors, so we have those as well. And we're really glad to have those back. And of course, we'll have our Estelle ones as well, which are the faux fur. So we'll have a completely vegan option as well.
Yeah.
And our final thing that I really wanted to end with is that we got new muslin totes. For many years, we have these totes in the store that you can use to take home your stuff. And for years they said, "You had me at Tricot," which is a great and hilarious slogan. And for people under 25, it's from this movie called Jerry Maguire, where Renee Zellweger says, "You had me at hello."
I have not even seen that movie.
Yeah. So we came up with this, which is from the famous Edith Piaf song, and so say no regrets. You're leaving.
I regret nothing.
Yeah. This is all full of yarn. You're
Je ne
happy.
regrette rien.
You're going home with your yarn and you're happy. So these are available on our site. They're available in store, and occasionally they get sent out as extra special gifts.
If you place a really nice woolly order with us, we may toss one in.
Toss one in for you. So yeah, that's it. I think this week we should go out on our new bag slogan.
Totally.
We will see you again soon. We promise not to let the podcast go so long next time.
We'll be back.
We will.
Bon tricot.
Bon tricot. Happy knitting.